welcome you here today to the Rapid Fire Debate track at Deliver Conference. My name's Nathan Keller. I'm the partner at True Altitude, which is a venture capital firm based out of London, Dubai and Sydney. And I'm joined here today by John Sheard from InPost.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. And Robin Watkins from Beauty Pie as well.
Afternoon all.
And do you just want to give a quick overview of InPost and then Beauty Pie?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, do you want to start with Beauty Pie?
I'll start, yeah. Hi all, I'm Robin Watkins. I'm responsible for everything logistics, warehouse, fulfillment, freight at Beauty Pie. For those of you who are not familiar with Beauty Pie, not surprisingly, it's a beauty company. The clue's in the name there. But yeah, we are a membership-based beauty company. We are a membership-based. We started in 2016. Our business model is focused on providing high-quality cosmetics and beauty care products for a very affordable price. So we have recently just started working with InPost. And yeah, you're all absolutely crazy to be sat here at 5 o'clock at the end of day one, listening to my Scottish accent for the next 45 minutes.
Committed.
Yeah, committed, sure.
Committed, yeah.
Great, thanks, Robin. Hello, everyone. I'm John Sheard. I'm the UK Business Development Director for InPost. And just by way of a quick introduction to InPost, if you don't already know, InPost Group is Europe's largest out-of-home network. So there are two brands that fall within the group, that is InPost and Mondial Relay, who we acquired last year, and we have 45,000 out-of-home locations across Europe. We're heavily focused on building solutions for Gen Z and millennials primarily, with digital-first, sustainable, label-less products within the last mile and returns journey. And as Robin said, we partnered recently with Beauty Pie and with our labelless returns product. And we believe that now is the time, absolutely, for out of home, particularly around what we're doing with lockers. And my focus very much in the UK, but we do have European coverage. Excellent. So that is me.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. So we sat here, 9 months ago?
Yep.
On stage, and we were talking about obviously the way that it worked, and at that stage we were sort of wondering, out of home, everyone had been stuck in home for well over a year at that stage, and no one had left. I guess the first question I'd ask is what's changed, in that time?
So obviously we've come out of COVID. So, but I mean, just taking a look at the UK, where we focus very much on the returns journey, because that's, I guess, one of the big pain points for retailers. COVID actually helped us quite significantly because of the nature of, say, a locker proposition. The fact that it was contactless, 24/7, actually worked well and really helped scale our business. Really helped leverage and build our brand in the UK. So we now have over 150 retailers live with our instant returns proposition, actively promoting InPost as a service across their website. So brand awareness has increased, our coverage has increased across Europe, but in the UK, which is the market I focus on specifically, we've almost doubled the size of our locker network within those 9 months. Yeah. So we have a locker network that is relevant, that has coverage, and is placed at all of the locations that are convenient for the consumers that use the service. So we really are far more prominent in the market, and we're seeing exponential growth in usage of our service. And I think that's really helped that consumer awareness, because consumers, particularly the younger consumers, they're really demanding, or have been demanding, something quite different within the last mile. And we offer that technical service, that digital service that maybe they haven't had from other services. And it's really made a difference to what we're doing. It's really helped us launch in the market. So yeah, we have a large consumer franchise now in the UK market.
Amazing. And obviously you've just started working with InPost as Beauty Pie. Is that part of the reason? Have you seen a change in your consumer as to why you'd needed to make these changes?
Yeah, we have. We are very customer centric. Our strategy, our logistics strategy is heavily built around the customer. We want to be able to offer multiple options to the customer. We are very focused on sustainability. So yeah, I mean, I think we have a very similar sort of success story to John and InPost. We grew exponentially over the pandemic as well. We benefited from the retailers closing. We didn't have to adapt to the same degree that the typical brick and mortar retailers did. But yeah, we saw similar sort of growth over that period, and the customers' demands are changing. They are, and as I said, we're customer centric. It's one of our key values at work. So a lot of our decisions are driven around their needs and what their wants are, and they are ever changing, as I imagine everyone in here understands.
Definitely.
Well, and just to add to that, I mean, we see that reflected in the NPS scores. Yeah. So we definitely over-index over other providers in the market. I mean, Poland, which is our, I guess, the mothership, where we are a Polish business. InPost is ingrained within their culture. We have 80% market share. We have an NPS score of 77, which is very high. Yeah. We have a very big out-of-home network in France through Mondial Relay. We're now adding our lockers into that out-of-home network. We've already seen great uptick in usage from consumers, and we have an NPS score already at 65. And some of the retailers that have gone live with us who are tracking their NPS score have seen a third increase in their NPS score through offering our service to their customers. So, yeah, it's definitely resonating with consumers, and yeah, works well.
Yeah, definitely. And the sustainability aspect obviously is a big thing when we're talking about e-commerce and logistics in particular. Obviously, they're one of the viewpoints, and for reference, our company previously got acquired by Neopost, which is thing, but yep. It's they struggled massively. Didn't have the sustainability aspect. You guys are very big on sustainability aspect. Well, so that's why I think your success has come about, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is, right? But it's a byproduct, right, of having a really good out-of-home service with an automated locker machine 24/7. What that does, it drives relevancy, right? So you think about, and I talk about the UK, that's the market I focus on. We're not an out-of-home market. We're a to-home delivery market. Yeah. So you've got to drive that behaviour change, and having a service that adds value to the consumer is helping drive that behaviour change. If you're driving behaviour change in a positive way, you're driving a share of checkout, you're then driving a move towards out of home. That benefits the consumer, it also benefits the retailer, because out of home there is 2/3 less CO2 with an out of home delivery. You can do 10 times the parcels delivered to a locker than you can to home, right? So it's just obvious. So rather than sort of shifting the mileage to electric, which is, that's one way of looking at it, but
it has been a big shift. Like the carriers trying to move to electric vehicles, and
of course, but
it doesn't always solve the issues, does it?
Well, it doesn't. I mean, in the UK, 42% of electric's driven out of fossil fuels, so you just move the problem further down the track. Yeah. But I think our view is and you see this a lot with the conversation with retailers wanting to now elevate out of home. Yeah. We're really helping them do that with something different, particularly in a market like the UK. Yeah. Our view is just take the miles off the road in the first place. Don't have them there. And so sustainability is a message, unfortunately, isn't enough to drive consumer change. So that's why I say it's a byproduct, but it's a great one. It really helps for the retail narrative. It really helps retailers with a lot of them now have their own CO2 targets linked to logistics. So that's just one of the macro effects that's really helping drive, I guess, this shift towards out of home. Yeah. So there's lots of factors, but
there needs to be a sort of fundamental change in sort of the consumer's view and the consumer's behaviour, I think. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's right. That was just
there needs to be a fundamental change in that, and I guess the question that I'm likely to be asked based on what I've said here is, how do we make that change? It's probably not down to all of us here to do it. It probably falls on the retailers. It's our responsibility to really drive that change. We can't force it. We've got to encourage it. We've got to get it on our website. We've got to raise the awareness of the impact it's having on the environment, and ultimately, money talks, especially when it comes to consumer. At that checkout page, if you're sharing the information on the impact on the environment you're having with these deliveries, how much you can reduce it, and if you can incentivize it with reduced cost, or at least reduce cost for a period of time, then hopefully that will be at least a first step in improving.
Interesting question, which I haven't asked anyone before in this scenario, but given that you're now using a different form, like when you're delivering to a home, you've got to have very stable, very rough packaging, stuff that can survive that journey. If you're now looking at alternative deliveries and out-of-home areas, is that something where you can do maybe a lighter weight packaging, something that's a bit more decorative but highly more sustainable, because you don't have to worry about as much on the trip?
I don't know. A lot of it boils down to the cost, the durability of the packaging you're currently using. It's certainly not a concern from a beauty pie point of view. If any of you have ordered beauty pie products, we get it in a very, very robust, pretty bright pink box.
I've seen it. It's
yeah.
Very,
so
very
from our point of view, it's not a massive concern.
Yeah.
I mean, you could build chips out of our boxes.
Yeah.
But maybe if other customers that you use, they do have experience that challenge. But yeah, from my point of view, not really.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really, really relevant topic because, again, sustainability packaging, lockers, one of the, I mean, they are essentially that they are a box, right? So you do open yourself up to the opportunity to have packageless products, particularly in returns, and we are more and more asked the question about what we're doing around sort of packageless. We actually are trialling a packageless proposition in Poland at the moment. If that is successful, we will then roll that out to other markets. So you tend to do, because we have such coverage in Poland, we tend to lead there.
You already said like moving towards a label or stamp-free solution. So that's sort of removing some labels. So there's actually a lot of ways you can save.
Well, we already do. I mean, that's already there, right? So that's one of the lead elements and why we've been very successful so far in the UK was with the launch of our labelless product. And when we say labelless, we mean truly labelless. So at no point in the customer journey does anyone have to print or apply a label. It's all done.
Because that does happen, doesn't it? With a lot of these labelless solutions, it gets to the depot and they print 4 labels and put it on there.
Yeah, I mean,
it kind of defeats the purpose.
It still happens in our process, but it doesn't happen in the customer journey. So like we say it's a true digital customer journey. So it's literally a scan, drop, go, and then we apply the label step to do the bit. But yeah, I mean, so there are definitely savings there from a label point of view, savings for the retailer, label in a box history, that's dead. But yeah, the packages piece as well, I think is going to become more relevant. And also recycle packaging. So we just actually partnered with a company called Books, who are a US company. Yeah. Again, they did quite a lot of work in the beauty space. Again, primarily in the US, but just launched in the UK, and they've got their boxes, and you get it in a reusable box. You can have it branded, and then on the underside of the lid, there's an InPost QR code. So then you can take that to a locker at your local Tesco, scan it, drop the box in, it goes straight back into the network for recycling. So that's interesting. We're starting to see some good volumes come through there. But again, it's an education and inertia thing, right? Bizarrely, they've got these recycled packaging. Only 10% currently get recycled. So it's like, it's going to take, you've got to get that customer usage and that education up, which sits across the board with the retailer to get that usage, which is the same with sort of elevating out of home, really.
And it's not an overnight change, is it? It's real incremental, and you have to take those first steps that you've just described to really make that step change later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Sure. And obviously, the peaks that we saw a year ago, obviously with volumes of e-commerce, it's been a consistent theme today. Obviously, that's normalised, I guess you'd say. It hasn't dropped; it's just normalised. Have you seen that? Obviously, in your
we've not had a period of stability since we started at Beauty Pie.
Oh, there you go.
So we don't know what normal is at the moment. We were shipping fairly low volumes pre-pandemic, and pandemic went absolutely exponential. So we didn't really know what to expect. So I mean, our volumes continue to grow. So we don't have a huge amount of data to work with. So I'm afraid I'm probably the wrong person to be asking that question.
I mean, we definitely haven't seen a softening yet. I mean, I think it's coming. But again, I think similar to what Robin said, it's very difficult because there's lots of variables in that debate, and because we're scaling so quickly and our share of volume is almost directly proportional to the number of lockers we have in the ground. And think about, we're deploying say 100 lockers a week in the UK. You can see that reflected in the numbers. So we're sort of doubling month on month. We might not double it month on month going forward, but we're still going to see that growth because, like I said, we're sort of driving increased share of checkout. So I don't think we're gonna. I think we're going to continue to see an increase, and especially with everything else that's going on, retailers wanting to promote out of home because of all of the benefits that come with it. I think we're only going to see that accelerate.
That was obviously my next question, just in regards to like the importance. I know in the past, dealing with InPost, there was so much onus on you to push the agenda for people to use out of home. Is that shifted now where retailers are now being more vocal and actually supporting? Because I have seen quite a few announcements come through where it's got the retailer and InPost, which I probably didn't see 5 years ago.
That's absolutely the case. So now we're a lot of the retailers we've been talking to over the last 6 months, a core objective of theirs is to elevate out of home, right? And so, and the reason being, there are unit economic benefits of doing that. When you think about the rising cost of fuel and the other elements that are going to have a significant cost impact for retailers, that's only going to accelerate in that agenda. The benefits to the consumer, so there has been a big shift, and we're working on how do we raise awareness, and where does that go within a checkout flow? And that didn't happen 12 months ago, to the point where we sat down and had a big debate, like how do you take it to the next level? Do we have to build a delivery proposition that's unique on top of the locker proposition to really drive that change? Actually, the demand has been, we do want you to build something really cool. We like your half-day delivery proposition, but we just want a 24-hour locker proposition right now, because we need to do that for sustainability. We need to do that for cost, and also our customers are now asking for it because we already offer you in our returns flow, and it's very successful. So a big shift, and I think it will continue. I've already had a couple of conversations today where people are saying, how soon before you get the new outbound service in the UK? It's like, wow, this didn't happen 12 months ago.
No, that's it.
So
it's definitely
it's great.
So in terms of your consumer and obviously expectations from your consumer, I'd imagine, it's as a subscription service, there's a consistency with the deliveries in somewhat. So
in some way, yeah.
But there's also a knowledge that it should arrive on this day. It's expectation, but it's a subscription service that arrives on this day of the month, right?
That's not how our model works. Our members are given an allowance on a monthly or an annual basis, and they can spend that whenever they want. So it's not as fixed as the first, second, or third of each month, which from a sort of demand and supply planning point of view and a warehouse planning point of view, it makes it a little bit harder to do, but it gives the customer or our members the freedom to order exactly what they want, when they want. And we've moved away from our monthly membership model and trying to funnel our members down an annual membership, where they're given a much greater allowance, which it gives them the option to order much greater volumes whenever they want, and for their friends as well.
Excellent. Yeah, very good. Just looking at obviously the impact on delivery and all that. I think last time we were on stage, we were talking about the relationship with carriers and how it was evolving. Have you has that sort of changed in the last 9 months as the way carriers, because obviously they've been through some tough times in the last 6 months?
Yeah, so I mean, again, I think as the locker proposition in the UK, and again, not UK, but I mean across the board, but has evolved, and it's become more established within the consumer demographic. We now have a lot of carriers who are wanting to work with us. It's difficult to roll out lockers, right? We've got over 3,600 now in the UK. You can't just go out and roll out a locker network. So naturally, I think carriers are wanting to work with us, and I think it's a really interesting strategic debate for us as a business. And we started in the UK down that route in partnership with Every, or Hermes as was, and that was great, right? That gave us great access to the market. But what it did was, we lost control of the brand, right? So, what is absolutely critical to us is we want to build that end-to-end and own that end-to-end. So the logistics into the locker, but more importantly, own what that user experience is like end-to-end from a product perspective with the consumer, because that's where you drive the stickiness, that's why you drive the brand awareness, and that's how you actually create the category.
And how is that ecosystem working? Because I'm sitting here, I'm looking at these SendClouds, and we know there's all these companies that are sitting as another middle person in between the delivery, and they do it quite successfully. That's what we did, so I'm very much for it. I'm not against it. But how is that now? You've got 4 or 5 people sitting between a retailer potentially and the final delivery. Is that getting easier now with technology, or is it more difficult than ever?
I don't think it's more
brand perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really impact the brand perspective. I mean, the tech stacks, I guess, invisible from a consumer point of view, and there hasn't really been a fundamental shift in the way that works. And yes, we do work with all the major carrier management systems, and you have to do that if you want. If you want to scale and get out into market quickly, you got to be exactly. And equally on the returns, you need to be integrated into all the aggregators. So that hasn't changed. I think the challenge maybe with it's where they do have an impact on the front end integration piece that we're going through that journey around how do we incentivize or work with those tech partners to make sure that we are positioned in the way that we want to be.
And how important it is for the InPost brand to be there for awareness.
100%.
People are turning up to a locker, they need to know what they're looking for.
It's absolutely critical.
Yeah.
And we've been, and it's going beyond just the InPost brand now, because we have some really powerful partnerships across Europe, and in the UK we work with all of the major supermarkets.
Yeah.
So Tesco's is our largest. We have 600 stores now, Tesco's, which gives us great reach. If you now go to, say, a JD Sports return page, you'll see Tesco's InPost are actually now piggybacking on that brand association as well to help drive awareness and association. Yeah. And that's, again, is really critical, and we're working with our partners, the Rebounds, the Zigzags, the Narvars, to really help influence that, what that journey looks like. And
that post-purchase experience has become so crucial for retailers, hasn't it? To be able to give real-time updates, to be able to track parcels, to reduce the friction, obviously, for customers.
Absolutely, yeah. It's something that we're focused on heavily at the moment. There's a number of benefits, as you say. The customer experience is critical. Having everything branded as Beauty Pie for us is really, really important. At the moment, we're just passing them off to third-party websites. We're missing opportunities to advertise ourselves, link them back to our website, increase revenue, increase traffic on our website, and we've also got the element of the deflection through our customer service team. I'm smiling because our customer service team is called Member Happiness, but I have to explain it as a customer service team. But it's key. The post-purchase experience aspect is becoming more and more prevalent. Actually, you spoke about the companies who act as the sort of middlemen up front.
Yeah.
We think the investment at the post-purchase end is more valuable.
Yeah, definitely. And
so I'm going to say, if you do get it wrong, you mentioned customer service. That's your where is my refund? That's where is my order?
They're less happy.
That's all that's going to happen. That's where you go. That's what's going wrong. So it's tracking. It's having a great customer experience. And retailers want to ensure that they've got as much control as they can on that, and that the customer's getting the best experience. Which again, a technology-led solution really lends itself quite nicely to that.
Yeah.
It's like you don't really have a locker that's having an off day. It either works or it doesn't.
Yeah, that's it. Takes emotion.
Yeah, exactly.
So just looking at it from an innovation point of view, have we run out of innovations for delivery now? Are we just painting it different colours? Is there anything that's literally coming down the pipe? Now it's come down to a consolidation. Obviously, the purchase of One Dial Relay is obviously a huge advancement for your business. But is there anything else? What's the out of home going to do next, in your opinion?
Oh God! I mean, there's lots of iterations of what we're trying to do within our product set. I think lockers is very much a big step forward in that space. And then there's lots of micro innovations within the consumer proposition that we're looking at, around different delivery propositions. We talked about packages already, so there's lots of other bits we're doing. We're looking at things like pre-sort on returns. We're looking at re-commerce and how we can better integrate and work with retailers for that. So there's lots of problems yet to solve for that we are engaged and are well placed to do with the nature of our services. So, but I mean, I guess where do you go? Drones, drone delivery to lockers.
That's the next drone delivery business.
Did you?
A long time ago.
Oh, I didn't. Well, that's why I mentioned it.
2012, 2013. Well, they're doing all right.
They're doing all right. Well, yeah.
They're still not there yet. I don't think drones are going to.
Yeah, no. That's your own question.
Yeah.
So, and do you, certainly from a retailer point of view, is there anything that you see where there is a gap where you'd like someone to fill the delivery process?
We're a true believer of voice of the customer, so always listen to what they want, but we don't want to be seen as reactive. Anything that gets it faster, cheaper, and more sustainable is our ears are open to it. Micro fulfillment is something that we're looking at the moment. It's dark stores, but you still have the challenge.
Way as well.
Or micro fulfillment.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of discussion in the past. It's not anything that's on our roadmap, but it has been asked. Around it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, there are ultimately challenges, particularly within fashion, around SKUs, etc. But we had lots of conversations with brands like Games Workshop who were like, we've got these, new releases of figures and we want to have them in your lockers, so people can get them at, midnight on the 5th of June or whatever. So it's like, those, I mean, it's optimally placed for that, but it's not something we're looking at. I mean, we're on the journey to make, to create a category, and that's our focus.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And anything else? Pretty much.
No, not at the moment.
Yeah.
I think that's keeping us busy as it is.
For sure. And where is everyone sort of settled on the returns? I noticed Zara started charging for returns.
Hot topic.
Sorry to bring it up, if that's the thing, but like everyone was pushing the free returns, and people expecting free, and now Zara's done it. I know Amazon in the US started charging for, things that they didn't before. So where is it? Because it's not always sustainable on certain products to be doing free returns, especially if you're sending out 10 items and getting 9 back.
It's not a one-size-fits-all solution, though. I think
exactly.
You have to look at it individually. You have to look at the type of product, why it's coming back, the cost of the product. Can you reuse it when it comes back? It's far more complicated than a yes or no answer.
Ultimately, it's a margin play as well, right? I mean, if you're on fine margins and you're giving free returns, it doesn't take long before you start to be in a negative position, and especially if people abuse that. So you're right, it really is a horses for courses debate, but I think the Zara move is really interesting, and I think it is reflective of what is going to happen more. Particularly in the fashion space. The reason people didn't want to do it because everyone sort of set the bar at that stage, but you're getting to the point now where it's too expensive now for retailers to be able to do that with the cost of
free delivery, free returns, and 2% margin.
Yeah,
it's very, very tough to run that for very long. So
exactly.
Yeah. So that was that's probably it. If we throw it to the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to put our earphones on.
Throw it out to the audience if there's any questions anyone has. If we can get the microphone over there, I can find where my headphones are.
Hello. So I'm from Coolblue, responsible for parcel returns. We're looking in solutions like this as well. One of the questions I have is, how do you tackle fraud?
I mean, a couple of things. I mean, it's no different to any other return method. So, there is still a risk of fraud. We're not doing anything on top of what would be through a normal other return option. I guess the benefit is with a locker there is a CCTV, so you've got some tracking if there is a fraudulent situation. And there have been a number of trials that we've looked at where we will cover the fraud risk and allow like an instant refund at the point where the locker is shut. But beyond that, we don't have any sort of advanced solutions around sort of fraudulent returns right now. There isn't an interim step that we have in the process. There's no vetting of products, which we might do with some of our partners do that, but we as a direct return solution don't. So there's nothing on top of CCTV and maybe covering the fraud risk ourselves, which we've done in trial, I'll say. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's quite costly. That's where we are.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Christian de Vries, SendCloud, to Beauty Pie in this case. What percentage of your outbound orders is currently to an out-of-home delivery solution? And what did you do to, let's say, enhance that percentage of orders?
Do you know the answer to this question already?
I might, but I'm more interested in your answer, of course.
We deliver to home, 100%.
Okay.
With the customer can have the option of going onto the DPD website and changing that to store or a neighbour. But yeah, it's at the moment it's 100% delivery to home.
Okay.
Watch this space from an InPost perspective. So we do the returns of Beauty Pie with our labelless returns. We don't launch our new outbound service in the UK until later this year. So,
okay. And for InPost in this case, across Europe you see a lot of differences in, let's say, the percentage of orders that are shipped to a locker or out-of-home delivery. In some countries it's very high. Let's say in France, for example, in some countries it's quite low. What kind of percentage of the market are you after in order to, let's say, when will you be successful in your, let's say, strategy? What kind of percentage of orders to a locker or a return would you have gained at that moment?
Yeah, look, completely varies by country. So I mentioned Poland, which is our mothership. I mean, we have huge share of checkouts, like 70 to 80%. So you know, what is success? I wouldn't ever like to put a ceiling on that success, but I can tell you exactly where we're aiming for in the UK. We want to have, certainly on returns, which is our lead proposition right now, we want to have at least 30% share of the returns volume with the retailers we work before the end of this year, right? Which will put us in number 2 place, right? And I say number 2. It feels weird to set yourself an objective as number 2, but you know, we're not going to topple Royal Mail in year 1, right? So year 2 maybe, but yeah, 30% is where we're aiming very clearly, and then next year we'll continue. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any more questions?
Hello, Mareike from Bergfreunde, a German company. How does the paperless returns work? Could you just quickly explain that?
Oh God, now you're asking.
Do you want me to do it?
Oh yeah, well, I actually know very well, but you can do it. Well, I mean, basically, the consumer gets a QR code, so they book the return, they'll get a QR code, they'll get a text message and an email. They take that, they scan at the locker door opens, the parcel is put in the locker. There is a relationship between the locker and the QR code, and which obviously links to the order number. When our City Sprint, our carrier, picks up the parcel, they obviously scan, opens the locker, which then creates the connection. They then apply a baby label to that parcel. It then goes back to the depot. At that point, the label is applied for return to the retailer. So there is still paper in the flow. Like you know, you're not getting away completely sustainable, but again, from a consumer perspective,
there is a solution for that too.
I'm sure there is, and I'm sure you're going to sell it to me later. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, from a consumer point of view, there's no printing, there's no hanging around, there's no waiting for a third-party interaction. But yeah, that is in a nutshell how it works. I hope I've done that justice. Maybe you can correct me.
You know, more the front end, the customer experience is really, really good. You know, they get their QR code. I mean, you can either integrate directly into InPost system, or you can just go into a portal and you pop the customer's email address or phone number, and within 3 seconds have a QR code. And it really is as simple as that.
Just interesting stat on that, actually. One of the things we're seeing with the locker returns is that the average time from QR code generation to drop in locker is sub 2 hours.
Really?
So for the retailers we work with, and one of the things we've been talking about a lot is how do you address returns apathy, right? One of the big challenges for retailers is it's not necessarily the SLA of that product getting back, it's the fact that the customer sits on it for a week before they then take it to the post office, right? Because we've got something that's 24/7. You know, it's at the local supermarket. It's on the doorstep. It's very quick, like scan, drop, go. And so we always talk about that buy to return time. We're crashing that by addressing returns apathy up front. So not only is it great user experience, but having that network of convenient locker locations is really helping sort of crash that. But kind of a loosely connected opportunity to get in a little fact there. But
excellent. Any further questions? There we go.
Hi, Paul Needham from CP Research. Sustainability. We've seen plenty of facts and figures in the past from InPost saying that deliveries to lockers are basically about 1/3 more sustainable, greener, whatever you want to call it, than to home. There's always, of course, the open question of how does the consumer get from his or her home to the locker and back again. Are you able to measure that, or rather, do you have any statistics? Because, you know, at the end of the day, it's packaged to consumer, it's not packaged to locker that counts in terms of sustainability.
Yeah, so two really interesting data points. So first of all, we did some research with a company called Barton Wilmore. I mean, a good couple of years ago now, but what they actually looked at was the net position. So the net, and that third stat actually does include those who would be maybe driving to a locker, for example. So there is a net carbon calculator which factors in that element. But we also recently did some consumer research around whether the consumer had specifically made that journey to go to the locker, or did they do it chained with something else. 77% was chained with another journey, and what's really starting to influence that is the fact that we have such coverage across our supermarket network in the UK, for example. So we have all the major supermarkets, so people are basically trip chaining with their journey to the supermarket. So I think it's a valid point. Yes, we can measure it, and I think those results are really encouraging, because we were a bit concerned. You know, you've got, you know, everyone's just going to the locker, and then it defeats the object altogether. But yeah, it's encouraging results, and it lends itself, or it tells us that we're putting our lockers in the right locations.
Excellent. I think that's it. I think we're done. Any further questions before we? Last question? No? No, that's it. Cool.
Great.
Excellent. So want to thank you guys for your time today.
Oh, thank you.
InPost, Beauty Pie.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you everyone for listening, and be sure to stay around for the final talk today in the rapid fire debates, and look forward to seeing everyone later this evening. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.